College Football Show. I'm George Whitfield, quarterback guru, joined by the two best co-pilots you could have. Pride of Baylor University, Bryce Petty. Pride victorious. We are Penn State football, Christian Hackenberg. Fellas.
Hey, real quick, not to hurt your intro, but Baylor won as well. First Big 12 day. So we're both victorious. Thanks.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. Welcome back to relevance. Welcome back to relevance. Baby steps. Hacking wins.
That's okay. Y'all win one game, two games, and all of a sudden.
Wait, let me check the notes here. It says Baylor conquered
Kansas.
Yes. Got it.
There we
go.
Rock chalk Jayhawk.
Did not know they were still playing ball in Kansas. Hello.
Well,
Charlie Weiss still the coach there? I don't know.
Negative. I couldn't tell you who it is, though. It's not Les.
We'll have to find that out. Fellas, we just watched another 12-round TKO by the basically probably the strongest Big Ten team out there. Welcome to all you out there with us. Penn State, Auburn. We're going to go there first. Hack, I'm going to start with you because you got your colors. I know you. I'm surprised you even have a voice left watching this.
Yeah.
Take me there. What did you see with your boys today?
I mean, shoot, dude. First off, I was fired up for the whole fan base and community. Like getting back in there in a whiteout setting, it couldn't have been against a better team and a better matchup from a conference standpoint. So that was fantastic, and it was great to see. Good for college football as a whole. But ultimately, I think Clifford played his tail off. I was kind of hard on him on my other podcast earlier in the year after the Wisconsin win, but I thought he really strapped it up, played well, led the boys, won the game for him. So ultimately, I think it puts him in the driver's seat in the East. I've said this to you guys privately, but I think the East is one of the strongest divisions in college football.
Agreed.
College football, deepest as well. I mean, even the floor is playing really well. The Rutgers and the Marylands, they're playing awesome right now. So they're in a really unique spot. I think they're in the driver's seat, and ultimately they've got to beat a confident Michigan team and Ohio State, who's struggling defensively. So real excited for them moving forward the rest of the year.
Bryce, is this you can learn and get beat. You can learn and get knocked out. But traveling north, SEC teams never do that. To come up to a whiteout, I think there is a more vicious atmosphere, or I'd say a bigger atmosphere. They seem friendly in Penn State. Like, it'll get on you. But you still got to travel north to go up against 100,000 people in a Auburn team that's like stitching together. Can they take something from this, or how would you look at this if you're Coach Harsin or Nix tonight?
Yeah, man, I think you do all the time, right? Coach Kaz always said, a strength coach at Baylor at the time, always said it, man, you don't lose, you learn. And I think those guys, and if you go up at Happy Valley at a whiteout, what better environment? Plus, again, I wish they'd have just done this game the first week of the year because, Hack, to your point, Happy Valley is like just the epitome of college atmosphere. So to come back off of everything that we, went through last year during COVID and actually get to witness that place get as wild and as crazy as it is, I think it's a beautiful thing. And look, I remember both 3 years ago now, playing against, I think it was Oregon was his first start. He's grown up a lot, has another system, another coach. We were talking about with Brian Harsin and Bobo in the mix. I think these guys are going to be contenders, man. I think they're really, really good. So there's always something to learn. And they went toe to toe with them. I mean, at 28-21, was as close on the stat sheet. And if you watch it, it's just as close as it was, on if you just pull it up on, ESPN and looking at stats. So definitely things to learn and things to go back to, to Jordan Hare and put in work.
Yeah, they got a tough schedule coming up in the SEC West. I agree with Hack. If the Big Ten East right now is the most competitive division of any conference in America, the SEC West, I think it's the most talented. That's the most talented. It's murderer's row. But you're talking 1A, 1B. Where does Penn State go now, Hack? What's their proper respect after going 12 rounds with a ready-made Wisconsin program on the road, and then you're the only Big Ten program to welcome a top 25 SEC team into your house? in 70 years. There's the stats. Dagan just set us up.
Yeah.
Hack, where they're at 10, and you beat an SEC biker gang type program. Where do they go now? What's the proper respect?
Well, I mean, it's only up, right? And I think looking at the Big Ten right now with the way Ohio State played and has been playing even today, and the way Iowa's won, I don't want to discredit Iowa, but I'm just not sold on them offensively to be able to hang with one of those 5 families that we keep talking about, or I mean, even this Auburn team. You know, I think this Auburn team would have gave Iowa fits today. So, I mean, I think they only go up. Like I said, I think they're the representative of the Big Ten right now. And I think for Penn State, it goes back to something that Coach Franklin preaches every week: 1-0, staying focused, and not drinking the Kool-Aid too much, and just focusing 1 week at a time and continuing to stack some wins. Looking forward to that big stretch with Michigan and Ohio State towards the end of the year here.
Bryce, Hack just said something very, very key. The distractions. Think about that now. The distractions. You're Penn State. There's a lot of youngsters in that locker room. You already made your way up to Wisconsin. Beat them in a battle. There were no trick plays that got that done.
Yep.
You had your tune-up win last week. And then also last week, all the USC news comes out. And then your coach is always part of that conversation. The team is looking ahead. It's the whiteout. Game day's there. Look at all the distractions that Penn State had buzzing around the campus. How big a deal is it to buckle yourself down, come out, and get ready for an equal to opponent like they did?
Well, and again, I think that's culture, and I think that's leadership. I mean, and they honestly, they tried to give it to Auburn. I mean, they put it on 3rd down for Christ's sake. I mean, it's just nuts, right? So no, I mean, I think as you can always tell a culture that has good leadership from its seniors, from its juniors, from its guys that's played. Coach Franklin as well. Hack talks always very highly about him and his process and how he thinks. When you talk about 1-0, staying focused, 1-0 isn't just the first game of the season. 1-0 is this week, right? 1-0 is on Tuesday. 1-0, you win on Thursday. And you see that with guys. You see that as from the first drive, I thought that they came out kind of swinging and didn't end up in points, but I thought that it was one of those kind of that tone setting. This is going to be a brawl, and you got to know that going in. So I think the guys did great and didn't they let the crowd and the student section be the hype, not themselves in the locker room, which is always important when you go into a game like that.
100%. Speaking of a game like that, we hope you guys are joining us. We want to hear from you. Ladies, fellas, coming off your tailgate, packing your stuff up, getting ready for the ride home. If you're at the bar right now, you're all pumped up or you're down, regardless, we want to hear from you. We want to get your questions on here. We want to get your thoughts on here as well. We have a tradition on here. We raise a toast. We tend to raise a toast. So let's start out with our new ceremonial toast. Always on a kickoff to the face and voice of college football, Lee Corso.
Course.
Today in State College, you put the Nittany hat on, and you were right, sir.
It's a beautiful thing to watch. Beautiful thing to watch. Great
scene today. Hey, my toast, I'm going to kick this off. Unusual. I'm going to start with a team that lost, and the loss will eat them up because they were in position to win. I'm talking down in Gainesville. That team, they went back and forth with the quarterbacks. They're trying to figure it out. They only really beat Florida Atlantic by a couple of touchdowns. But Dan Mullen had the Gators ready when they needed to be. They went toe-to-toe all night, fell down 21-3 in the first quarter. And when most teams fall back 21-3 to the Roman Army, they tend to cash it in. Really, truly, they tend to cash it in. And here the Gators are going for 2 to tie the ball game with inside a minute left. Like the resiliency and the toughness to go toe-to-toe with the Roman Army. So, to the Gators and Coach Mullen, I raise your toast.
Yep.
Hackenberg, where we going?
All right, so So I'm going down to Memphis. Going down to Memphis, Tennessee, with my man Calvin Austin III, the heads-up play of the year. I don't even know if it was legal. I don't know if those referees are getting if they're getting calls right now and they got a meeting on Monday morning and they're going and seeing a board advisory. I don't know what it is, but playing till the whistle blew, man. He took advantage of his opportunity, 94-yard touchdown, picking it up off that punt, that routine down punt. He took advantage of it.
Give him some more name record. Give him some more name record.
Yeah.
More time.
My man Calvin Austin III.
Hey.
Not the fourth or the second.
The third.
My guy.
Three toast. Here.
That's the generations. Bryce Petty.
Man, I'm having fun with this one, and I think everybody can go back to when they were a kid playing ball. But I'm going up to Columbus because my man Cannon Montgomery, who, for those of you who don't know, is Coach Philip Montgomery's son, the head coach of Tulsa, scores his first touchdown of his career at playing Ohio State, man. And actually, what's crazy is he actually put him, that score put him within 7. That was a 20-13 ball game at that point. So Cannon Montgomery, 21-yard TD reception, coach's son. I love it. Congrats.
Hell of a place to start, too.
Yep.
Big time.
Hell of a place to start. Fellas, before we move on, we just want to pay homage to Bet Rivers. Bet Rivers Sportsbook. If you aren't signed up with Bet Rivers yet, now is the time because they're offering a $250 bonus match for your first deposit. But what sets them apart is that they require just one playthrough to turn your bonus into cash money. With their new Rush Pay instant approval, withdrawing your winnings is safer and more secure and more reliable than ever before. With football season kicking off, get into the action by going to betrivers.com today or by downloading the Bet Rivers iOS app. You must be 21 years old or older. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Fellas, now let's go into the other two heavyweight matchups of the day. We just talked about Penn State. I buzzed a little bit about the Florida-Alabama game. Can we go down to Gainesville? I know you guys watched it or pulled from it. You don't even have to see it live now to get it. But we watched the Roman Army. These guys march all over the country, and they usually come out unscathed. I felt like they picked up some scars today. Bryce, your thoughts in watching Bryce Young and Emory Jones and both defenses and all that speed collide today down in Gainesville?
No, I loved it. I loved it. And to your point, man, they got down early. And, with Emory Jones, there's all this, hoopla about, who's the other kid behind you. Trevor and I talked about that a little bit on our podcast this week too. It's tough. It's tough to go out there and prepare like you're going to be the guy and they're sold out in terms of coaches. They're sold out for you, that you are the best guy to lead this team. So for Emory Jones, man, I thought he played his butt off, man. He did what he needed to do. Threw the ball pretty well most times. And then, obviously with his feet, got him in positions to score. And then, man, they just started, just ticking away. And so anyways, I thought the whole team showed up in the second half for sure. Defense played really, really well. I thought interestingly enough, I thought guys were really timid in the first half, whether that was coming off a UAB game or what. Angles were bad on defense. Guys were catching the ball and kind of like waiting to get hit. It was just kind of weird. And in the second half, man, I felt like they were just like, man, forget this. Let's just go after it. Look, man, not only because, he's got a great name, but Bryce Young, I think, is the truth, man. I think he's going to be really, really good. One play in particular was an incomplete pass, but dude's rolling out to the right, throws about a 45-yard ball on a rope, across his body, which I think is, there's just very few people that can do that. This guy is putting in chips right now that he's going to be able to pull from in the jukebox down the road. And I think he does what he needs to do. I think Billy O's done a great job with him in spring and fall, being able to teach him and administer things for him to go out and execute and not feel like I have to do more. The guy's reading left to right. The guy's throwing a swing pass for a touchdown. That's a check down. Like just things like that. That's growth. That's growth at 19 years old, and you know, the dude's making $1 million out the field too. So I think that test, yeah, that's right. I think that test down in Gainesville showed a lot of moxie on Bryce's stance just to get it done. Getting a close game, you're not going to be juggernauts and knock everybody out. You know, in the third round, it sometimes does have to take 12. But my hat's off to Florida because, to your point, on your toes, George, I thought they showed up in the second half and really took it to them.
Hack, what'd you take away from number one getting pushed to the limit like that today?
Yeah, I think so. So I'm going to look at it from both teams' perspective. I think from Alabama's perspective, they obviously came out and did what they wanted to do early. They got ahead, and something that I've seen just watching a Nick Saban and how he ran his organization, how he ran his teams, when they get up like that, they usually take advantage. And today they didn't. So I think that's something that he's definitely going to focus on moving forward. And whether it be that you have a young guy pulling the trigger or not, or whatever he's going to identify, he's going to figure that out. But I thought that was very uncharacteristic of an Alabama team, especially
quick
with
question. Do you feel like they took their foot off, or do you think that's a sign of the battle and fight from the opposing squad?
So I was going to get to that. I love and when Hack gets interrupted, man. He gets he gets hot. He gets hot. This dude texts me off the podcast like if George doesn't shut up, dude. I'm telling.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
I'm catching the next flight to San Diego.
Oh god.
And I'm gonna put these paws on it. Anyway, I was saying I think but realistically speaking, you've seen Alabama do that against other teams who were talented, had great coaching, had great schemes, could make halftime adjustments, XYZ. They still found a way to step on the throat, keep their foot on the gas pedal, and go finish the ball game. I don't think they did that. So I think from an Alabama standpoint, that's something that they're going to reflect on. And I know that Saban and even Billy O, having been in a room with him, is going to focus on moving forward throughout the rest of their schedule because they're going to need that killer mentality, finish the game down the road. Now, from a Florida standpoint, I think that's a massive cap tip to Dan Mullen and how they adjusted at halftime because I thought it was like what Bryce was saying. I thought it was two completely different teams from the first half to the second half. And the only thing you can credit that to is being able to adjust at halftime, seeing what they're giving you, and being able to put your guys in situations to make plays and be successful, both defensively and offensively. And I thought they did a great job with that. And when you have a talented team and a talented roster like you do down there in Gainesville, I think they're going to continue to figure things out. And I'm excited to see the growth and development of that program moving forward under Dan. Just because I think it's going to be good for the SEC. The deeper the SEC gets, the more teams that are going to be competitive and consistent. I think that's the biggest thing in the SEC is consistency.
Absolutely.
And the teams that master consistency are always the guys that end up winning that conference. And Urban did it for a while down there. Now you have Nick running it. And you look at a team like LSU, they won a national championship 2 years ago, and now they're scrapping. So it comes down to consistency. So I'm hoping that no moral victories come from losses, but it is a great learning experience, and I hope that it sets them on a trajectory moving forward throughout the next coming years and even through the rest of the season to continue to be a consistent ball team, and they know what they're capable of doing now.
Man, so Alabama gets pushed today, number one. I remember our first two times coming on here and watching Alabama. I remember especially them coming out of that Miami game, and we're just kind of thinking, well, who else is going to make their way into the championship game against Alabama? Tonight showed us some different things. First of all, they're not immortal. It's not like they're the White Walkers. They're the Roman army. They're not the White Walkers. So that was eye-opening. And for me, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, Florida, to me, is the third best team in America if they just played the bar. They played the bar. Georgia sits right behind Bama. And then stop me when I name a team that Florida you don't think could beat in a neutral site. Penn State. Ohio State.
I got to ride with my guy.
Yeah, you should have led with that one.
Okay,
I
so
don't
this
know.
one-
I
this
don't
one
know about
to
that.
lead
I
with.
don't know what that was.
First one, Ohio State. Is it
Next.
unfathomable that they couldn't beat Ohio State in the neutral site?
They beat
Absolutely
Ohio
not.
State.
Absolutely
They
not.
beat Ohio State.
Cincinnati.
Ah.
All respect.
Yeah,
to the Vikings.
go ahead and roll. Bearcats are my team, but go ahead and roll. Go ahead. I got to be realistic
Okay.
here.
They're in a puncher's chance with Texas A&M. Yes? No?
Yes.
Okay. Now we're going to start pushing into the top 6. Clemson.
Yes.
They haven't. Okay. Let's go. Iowa. Hack. I know
Yeah,
how you-
no. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oregon. And Oregon had the win of the year last week.
Yeah.
Oregon. If you put Florida and Oregon in a neutral site, can you just close your eyes and say Oregon's got them?
Well, no, I mean, I think Florida talent-wise, though, like, yes, 1,000%. Florida talent-wise, you can roll them out with anybody, and if they play at that bar, but it goes back to the consistency thing, though.
Correct.
If they show up and play like they did in the first half,
Right.
all the teams you just listed, based
Right,
upon
right,
what they've
right.
done up
Yeah.
into this point, they're
That offense
They're
rivals
going-
number 5, man. That
They're
offense
going to do
rivals
it.
number 5.
I'm talking execution, resiliency, coaching, and then you got enough playmakers to go get them. They get Oklahoma, too, just to be all the way real about it. I think this is going to be one of those rare situations. I'm curious, can a team that just lost go up? Like, when have we seen that before? Have we seen a team take a loss and then wind up going up? That'd be interesting to see. We might as well go on up north and look at the Fighting Bryce Petty's Cincinnati. Went on the road to Indiana.
Bearcats.
On the road, great battle. Hack, I already know Bryce is going to take us on a beautiful 30-minute run here in a second. So you and I are going to wrap first.
we'll get this in.
You're talking Desmond Ridder. It wasn't like he was untouchable today. And Michael Penix. That would be a tough day for him too. Mike Penix he was not on his horse today either. But what did you take from this border battle between the Hoosiers and Bearcats today?
Yeah, again, I think Indiana's been a team that's been struggling with expectations and not really being able to fill those shoes heading into this year. And I think a lot of it rode on Michael Penix. And I thought today he threw a couple balls, should have been caught, could have been some big explosive plays. I thought he settled in a little more than he looked the previous 2 games, but still he's a shell of what he was last year in terms of confidence and how he was playing, in my opinion. But ultimately, I think looking at it, Indiana looked kind of like what we saw last year. So I think they're going to really start trying to push to try and get back to that and just finish strong and hope they make a pinstripe bowl or something like that. With regards to Cincinnati,
top rope comes from, man. Top rope Hack sits on.
Cincinnati has started really slow, and that concerns me when you start talking about going up against teams like in Alabama, like a Florida, like a Penn State, like someone who's not going to let you start slow
and come jogging back
and be able to catch up. Like if you give me a 5-yard head start, I'm turning that into 10 really quick. Yep. And I think that's where you're going to start trying. That's where the lack of strength of schedule for Cincinnati, in my opinion, and the ability to have those things, like they're going to have to put a statement on Notre Dame next week. They got Notre Dame next week, correct?
Yeah.
They're going to have to put a big – 2 weeks.
Next week.
Notre
Dame's got Wisconsin 2 weeks.
They're gonna have to put a big stamp on that game, in my opinion, to start selling me to saying, okay, maybe we can see that happen. But ultimately, great win for them against a team that, though they've had some struggles early in the year, still had a lot of confidence going into this season.
Bryce, your boys beat a Big Ten team and not a little brother program like Hack was saying. The floor in the Big Ten is coming up. The heavyweights are fighting like heavyweights, and Indiana's somewhere in between. They went on the road. They showed a lot today. I know you're going to tell us what you loved about their performance, and there you go with your boy Desmond Ridder, like just a a complete veteran effort today because it wasn't his best football, but he guided them back. How far or does this push Cincinnati up, and what do we learn about them nationally? Do we learn anything new about them nationally after beating a strong Hoosier program?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, I think, Hack made a lot of great points. Look, you guys got to remember, this is the same team that lost by 3 points to Georgia last year. So we're not talking about, kind of a Cinderella team, whereas I feel like a lot of the hype on Indiana was from last year. So, what we learned, I think, is just the same thing that, Cincinnati and their locker room learned, is that, no, we can play, we can be gritty. Was this a great win? In terms of flawless execution, not a chance. I think there's a lot of things that they did what they needed to do, right? I'm a golfer. I like to golf. One of the best quotes I've heard is your worst day better than someone's best day? Because that's what's ultimately going to, put you on the scoreboard.
Is that how many teams can Cincinnati point to in the top 10 or 12, or you as their de facto ambassador? How many teams can Cincinnati point to in the top 10 or 12 that their C+ day could get one of those teams, or a B- effort, or a B effort?
Not many. I really don't think many. And that's the thing. They have to be able to bring their A game, because when they do bring their A game, then they take Georgia 24-21 like they did last year. I mean, that game was a slugfest. In a game where they're scoring, or really in a conference where they're scoring 50 points a game, can they go 24-21 and play with an SEC team? Yeah, they can. And so that's the thing about this team that I like, and what Luke Fickell's brought to that locker room is there is a belief in what they can do. So this was a statement win for them. It's not 2020 anymore. This is 2021. We can go do it in a Big Ten, atmosphere, Big Ten arena, and play. And so, they're going to have Notre Dame coming up.
I'm going to challenge you on this, Bryce. And Hack, I want you to either challenge it or co-sign it, either way. But they got Notre Dame next week. They're going to
2 weeks.
Okay.
They got a bye week and then 2 weeks.
They're going to pack it up. They got 2 weeks to prepare. What can they take to Notre Dame and they can count on? For instance, when Georgia travels, they know they can unpack their defense, and they're out, they're going. Ohio State knows they can unpack their offense, they're out, they're going. Michigan State, we're learning now, can unpack that run game and that front offensive line at front. They know they can count on that. Cincinnati, we've been watching that. Hack pointed this out when we very first started. They start fights real slow. They'll catch a couple jabs early.
Slow.
It takes them a while. This is their best opportunity to make a statement. What can they unpack at Notre Dame in 2 weeks and count on? And then what do they need to hustle up on in 2 weeks, and so they can hang their hat on something else? What's the next one?
No. Look, I think this offense completely runs through 9, right? Desmond Ridder is their guy. So you have to put him in positions to be successful early. Get that guy in the mix, running, tossing it on the edge, quick throws. Man, he's so good at second level throws. And that was what was fun, watching him today, kind of from the start to finish. He's got really good, and we always did this, we were training George over the soccer goal, right? Throwing those balls over the soccer goal and putting them on a line down. Like he is really, really good at that. You saw his little fade toss in the end zone today to his man Pierce. So there's a lot of things that he does really well. Yep. And he's a 3-year starter. So you have to run through him. The other thing that I think is really interesting, Jerome Ford is their guy from Alabama, transferred from Alabama, came in 2 years ago, really fits in that system well. 66 yards on the ground a day with 2 touchdowns, but that they can punch you in the mouth too. They can go get the hard-earned yards that they need to. And then their defense can swarm. So I think they have to understand that they need to make a 12-round fight a 3-round fight. They need it not to overexert themselves, but what they need to do is not wait till the third and fourth quarter to get going, because they did that last week as well.
100%
out of the gate, man. Out of the gate. Luke Fickell, bring in Desmond to your office. Say, hey, what do you like? What do you want to run?
And Hack.
They need to take the fight to them.
Go ahead, Christian.
Yeah, they need to take the fight to them. They can't be passive. They can't. they can't feel it out, because if you feel it out with a Georgia's going to run with it. If you feel it out with a Penn State's going to be like, all right, dude, you throw me one, give us a short field, we'll turn it into 7, and we're going to keep moving.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's just, to me, it's a mentality. To me, I think you make a great point about trying to figure out what Desmond. I mean, they should know what Desmond does well by now, and they should be doing this from the jump. But there's always time for reflection, and there's always time for trying to figure out what that may be this year, because it is going to differ. It is not 2022, 2020. It's 2021.
Yeah.
There's, personnel changes. There's different things that influence that. So
for both of you, and you guys watch football more than anybody, you understand what's going to happen when we get into December and the season turns into a campaign. My 10-1 is stronger than your 10-1. My 11-0 is stronger than their 11-0. The SEC is going to say our 5th best team can beat Cincinnati. So here you are. Cincinnati now has a great opportunity. They get 2 Power 5 teams in September. Indiana on the road. Go in, beat them. Now they get a chance to turn around. You get the break. Next week. Turn around and go play Notre Dame. Bryce, you said it. Turn that 12 rounds into a 3-round fight. Put some up on the board and make them play from behind, lay your ears back if they can do it. Up front in the trenches, they're going to have to show they can go another 12 rounds with a Power 5 team. And then the rest of it is a group of 5 and they drive on out of there. But the case is going to be made against them. When, say, a Florida runs it out, A&M's going to have maybe a loss and they'll run it out and they're going to turn around. There's the whole state of Ohio, or the southern part outside of Ohio State, is going to be making a case about the Bearcats. They're going to have to show against Notre Dame, we have the type of medal that we deserve to be in the playoffs. Is that thinking correct, or do you think we're past that? Hack, Bryce? Or are they still held to that group of 5 standard?
It's part of the nature. You just explained it beautifully and perfectly. That is what it is. You can't unpack it any other way, because at the end of the day, when you do look at a team that's in the SEC that is a 1-loss team, or even a 2-loss team in the SEC, where they're playing Alabama, Florida, and then you flip over to the West, you got Arkansas, which Bryce talks about, who's been playing really well right now. It's 5th best team. I'd throw Arkansas out there against Cincinnati tomorrow and see what happens. You know what I think? That'd be a game where I'd be like, I'd circle it and I'd be like, I'm going to tune in and watch this.
Right.
LSU, there's so many variables with that, and it goes back to, like I said, consistency specifically in that conference. And then I think you can still make the argument with the Big Ten East right now, in terms of I'd be curious to see a Cincinnati, Michigan State. You know what I mean? Even a Cincinnati, Maryland. The way Maryland's been playing offensively right now, hot as heck. They can score against anybody. They can run it up.
Fighting Mike Loxley's.
But that's a team where if you let them punch you in the mouth, you never know what happens. So I think this Notre Dame game's massive for them. They gotta put something on it. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Indiana. It's got to be bigger.
It'd almost be interesting if they had a field of 12.
I'll drink to that.
Instead of a field of 4 teams, because wouldn't it be great to see a Cincinnati play a 1-loss A&M, or a 1-loss Michigan, or
undefeated UCLA,
or an undefeated UCLA? I think it's interesting.
Let's go right to it. Just a quick reminder. While we're on this, we want your questions. Questions are coming in right now. We're going to pop them up and start chopping through them. We want your questions. The Field of 12, College Football After Dark Show. Bryce Petty, there is going to be a team, theoretically, what a conundrum of a statement, that at the end of the season is going to say, look, we lost to Bama and Georgia and beat everybody else in the SEC. Cincinnati, they go to Notre Dame, they get a win, they get pushed to the brink, and then they go and do everything else they're supposed to do. They got to make a statement, because schools and programs will be able to turn around and say that. How do they ward that off? How do they battle that off?
Yeah, well, internally, I think that Luke needs to get in there, on Monday or Tuesday and say, guys, why are we playing to try and be perfect? They're almost playing not to lose instead of stepping on somebody's throat. And I know that's aggressive, but at the same time, that's what you have to do. The mentality is okay. 2020, we snuck up on people. People didn't know who we were. We didn't know who we were, and we just like, damn, we're pretty dang good. We held, again, not to bring up the Georgia game, but it's 24-21 against dogs, literally, right? So the idea is that, man, internally, that leadership, man, I saw it on, and this is what I loved about Desmond Ridder today, because they zoomed in on the series where he threw the pick. There was miscommunication up front. They had a loop around and ended up kind of throwing off his back foot, still hit the guy in the hands, tip, but was a pick. But the play before looked like the guy was supposed to have an out cut, didn't. Desmond's all up in his face. And I love seeing that. So they need to have that. Who is that guy outside of 9 that's going to be that guy for that team? On the defensive side of the ball, on the offensive side of the ball, they had a 99-yard kick return today. That kind of stuff is how you get out of games. Again, is your worst stuff better than somebody else's best stuff? But at the same time, you can't always count on a 99-yard kick return. You can't always count on somebody to throw 3 pretty bad picks to you.
They have a beatable Notre Dame team. They have 2 weeks to get a
very beatable,
but a team nonetheless that is undefeated. Toledo got them in 12 rounds, took them 12 rounds.
And Toledo just got smacked by Colorado State today.
How about that? And then Purdue goes in there. It wasn't a knockout, but Purdue was throwing blows, Hack. All right, so we're going to go into this. We're going to go into some buy or sell. Who are you on? Who are you out on? But we just want to reiterate again, questions are coming in. We want your questions. We want you to go home and kill your roommates with the football intel. Be the king at the tailgate or the queen at the tailgate on the next go round. Before we get into that conversation, I just want to let you guys know about Field of 12 Media, a brand new podcast and digital media network covering college football by the people that know it best. Brought to you by Shoot Your Shot Productions, the folks behind the Field of 68. The Field of 12 gives you insight into the game we all love by the people that have lived it. Trevor Knight and Bryce Petty cover the Big 12. Max Starks and Clint Stoner own the SEC. We have Harry Douglas and Cody Sensabaugh in the ACC. Christian Hackenberg joins Joshua Perry to break down everything in the Big 10. And, of course, you have Yogi Roth and Ted Robinson have the Pac-12 on lock. And, of course, we'll be here every Saturday night. Get your drinks. Check the link below for the rest of our shows. The Field of 12, where college football happens. So, buy or sell. Let's go into this. So those of you who are now riding with us, we've been calling the preseason top 5 teams the 5 families. And we're talking about Alabama, Oklahoma, Georgia, and Ohio State. Let's go into buy or sell. We'll just skip past the Roman Army down there in Tuscaloosa, assuming we all buy, unless there's any objections.
Awesome.
Okay, we'll roll.
Going once. Going twice.
Gone. So the Bulldogs, to me, they're 1B in the country. Yeah. Anybody have a sell proposition on Georgia Bulldogs, any facet of them?
No, I think both units, both sides of the ball, special teams, I just think they're solid. I think they're really solid.
Here's the two things. Go ahead, Hack.
Yeah, I think what separates them is their defense. And
unit is vicious.
It's not a situation where it's like a defense and then they can't pack a punch offensively like Clemson has proven to not be able to do up until this point. They can score some points. They got some dudes on that side of the ball as well. So I think they're arguably the most complete team right now in terms of the ability to play complementary football, take advantage of turnovers, and then offensively also light up the scoreboard.
Strong argument. I like them. Veteran quarterback. I think they have the single best unit. Offense, defense, special teams. Their defense is the best unit. in America, and that program is battle tested. That's a battle tested program. So let's go to Ohio State, where he seemed to be all with the Tide and the Bulldogs. Ohio State, Bryce Petty, are you buying or selling, or there's some parts of it you want to buy and some parts you want to fleece?
I'm typically an all or nothing kind of guy, but because at the end of the day, it comes on wins. You can't sit there and split up offense, defense, and pick what you want. Ohio State is tough for me because I don't think that their defense is going to last at all. Once they get in the meat of conference schedule, man, how many times you got to put somebody put up 500 yards of offense on you. If you're number 3, 4, 5 team in the country, that can't happen. I mean, Tulsa had them for the better part of 3.5 quarters, really 4 quarters, and that was off of a loss from Oregon last week. So I'm selling Ohio State. I think that defense is poor, like really bad. I like CJ Stroud. I think he's going to be a good, really good. He's good now. I think he's going to be really good down the road. But I don't think they're going to be able to hang people. But they're going to be, 51-50.
Hack, can you buy the Buckeyes?
It's just hard because of their record, like their what they've done, their span of work over the past really decade. So I'm kind of like a hold on the Buckeyes right now. Like I said, I'm super high on my Nittany Lions right now in terms of being in the driver's seat in that conference, and specifically in the East. I agree with Bryce. I think historically bad defense, and also it's really weird that Ohio State hasn't been able to figure it out from a coaching staff standpoint too, in terms of putting these guys in situations to be successful and finding an identity and letting those kids play fast, because you still have athletes. Like, it's not like they don't have the personnel on that side of the ball. They got it.
Right.
I just think there's some hesitancy, and they're not playing with the speed and tempo that they need to play with, and the conviction they need to play with on that side of the football.
That's
my chink in their armor.
That's a maturation deal coming down the line. Usually teams with great programs and great history seem to mature and pull it together. They've already gotten knocked out. They have zero room for error going through the year. They have zero room for error. And one loss may not even get you in this year. Let's jump here quick. Clemson, I'm going to start with you, Hack. Against the state of Georgia. We watched them against the Bulldogs early, and then we watched them today against Georgia Tech. They have 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
They have no. That first game they lost 10-3. They didn't even score a touchdown. They have 17 points against the state of Georgia in 8 quarters. Buy, sell, or are you going to give them a hold with a little bit of grace?
Oh, no. It's just shocking to me. I mean, because of the way that DJ even played last year, like, you would expect this offense to be operating at a much higher clip. And, I'm selling them. I mean, I love their defense. I think their defense is fantastic. But that's only going to get you so far if you can't hold up the other side of the bargain. You know what I mean? You can't, like Bryce said, it's a team game. You can't hang your hat on one side of it. It may get you a win or two here and there in some tight games, but in order to do it consistently, you got to have both sides working together. And they're a sell for me right now. It's disappointing and hard for me to say, but they're a sell.
Bryce, according to the NFL prognosticators on the draft, top 50 draft prospects next year. And remember, DJ doesn't count because he's still got another year coming. They have 7 guys in the top 50. We know who they are. They've been in the national championship game 2 of the last 3 years. We know who they are. Why is there such a struggle for them just to get up and down the field and or close out games? If you didn't watch the Georgia Tech Clemson game today, Clemson up 14-8. Had to fight off a goal line stand by Georgia Tech at home with 15 seconds left to survive. Yeah. They were feet in their own end zone trying to stave off that would have been an Appalachian State type win in South Carolina.
Yeah,
Bryce
big.
Petty. Tell us why you buy them, Bryce. Tell us how much.
Oh, that's not even good grief, man. I can't buy Clemson right now. Look, what I wrote down, I know you guys can't see on these notes, but identity. Who are you? You're not Trevor Lawrence anymore. You don't have Goldilocks. Dabo Swinney, this is what you get paid for. Brent Venables, this is what you get paid for, right? And honestly enough, this is what makes Nick Saban in a class of his own, and nobody talks about it. They just expect him to be number one. You realize, and people are seeing that. Ohio State is seeing that. They've lucked out with this, kind of this quarterback regime, that Justin Fields leaves, then CJ Stroud. For you as a program and as a coach, even as a unit, to break it down that far, to be able to put 11 guys on the field that can play together, play as one, execute is tough. You are circled every year. Georgia Tech circled you 8 months ago when they found out you were on their schedule. You have to be able to come to play, and no one cares if you're Dr. Pepper or not. And that's no hit on DJ, man. By all means, go get your stuff. But at the end of the day, it's about winning football games, and it's about executing. You threw for $125. Like, how is that?
That was his numbers today?
$126, 126 yards is what he threw for today against Georgia Tech. Now, I know that there was, weather delay and all that kind of stuff. And look, all that stuff that's life, man. Adjust. You got to be able to adjust. And again, who are you? Who is the identity of this offense? Because, Coach Venables is going to have that defense rolling. Who are you as an offense? You got to come to play.
Hack, to Bryce's point, they have no more margin for error. They're going to finish the season. They won't have another big – we don't think so. I mean, damn, we didn't think – they're going to be scratching it out with 15 seconds left to get past the rambling wreck, but they win out. They win out. There are going to be 4 or 5 undefeated teams, you have to think, standing at the end of the year. They have zero margin for error, and they find themselves in the same hole as Ohio State. Zero room for error. And both fan bases will make all this noise at the end of the year, and they'll need help across the board just to get back into this dance.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it right now, like, they got South Carolina on November 27th. I mean, they got Wake Forest, UConn, Louisville, working backwards from there. Florida State, Pitt, Syracuse, Boston College, and NC State next week. Like, you don't have a chance to make a statement win to be able to rectify the Georgia loss and your struggles early on. Like, you don't have a chance to do that. Like, you're going to have to go out and blow these guys out and then win in the ACC championship in a convincing manner, whether that be
against
North Carolina. But that's my point, though. But my point is
a game Wake Forest program for the first time, fellas. We got to raise a glass. Beating Florida State. Probably for the first time since Eisenhower administration.
And to toss out Florida State since 1976, you've gone 0-3. That was Bobby Bowden's first year. How crazy is that? I read that stat and I was like, oh my gosh.
Crazy.
That's nuts, man.
Crazy.
The Knowles at 0-3. Boy, oh boy. All right, so let's now go to the Plains. We talked about the Roman Army, the Bulldogs, the Buckeyes, zero room for error. Clemson, zero room for error. They haven't been beaten yet, but our opinion of them has certainly been beaten up, and I'm talking about the Sooners. We all offseason heard about Spencer Rattler, rightfully so, a talent in his own right. Oklahoma, they got their dance card, their membership, so to speak, to the SEC. This is the year we go in and do X, Y, and Z. They're just barely getting by teams. They're just holding on to these programs, just trying to survive. A Nebraska program that got beat by Illinois comes to your house, and it takes every man, it takes every trainer, every secretary, every second of 4 quarters to get by Nebraska. Bryce, you said it earlier when we were watching games earlier. You said, who is Oklahoma?
Yeah.
Well, who are they right now? 3 games into the season. Are they the number 3 team in the country? First,
God, no. They're. To your point, these are games where your like 2s and 3s get in, right? And that's what's crazy about it. Again, there's a lot of stuff that happened over the last, last year with COVID, and then this year, so guys haven't been playing. It's just been interesting, but. Your tune-up games they're tune-up games for a reason. Like you're paying these dudes $2 million to come in and get their shit kicked in, and you're taking Tulane to the fourth quarter, winning by 5 points. Thank God for Western Carolina State, which is right next to, I think, Helen Keller State, to where you can put 76 points up and feel good about it. But then Nebraska comes in, they kind of amazing. I know they're 2-1, but they're not like they're. Outside of Larry the Cable Guy, I don't know anybody on that roster. I do take that back. I know that the quarterback is a Martinez guy because that's been like the last 15 years. But like oh my gosh, and all we heard about was Alex Grinch and this defense.
Yeah,
they were supposed to have the complete setup this year. They were supposed to have the defense that they've always wanted. Lincoln Riley is Lincoln Riley. Spencer Rattler, ever since the Texas game was, trending up like dang Apple or Tesla stock. And now all of a sudden, it's what people are just supposed to lay down and win, but, lose because you're Oklahoma. So I don't know who they are. But Big 12 does not care. I got to be honest, Hacks talked about, the East over there in Big 10. We've talked about SEC West. Right now, I'm nervous about what Big 12 is because, it was when Trevor and I were talking about it, it was Oklahoma, it was Iowa State, and then who? And now we're going, man, I don't know. It's going to be a fight. Yeah. It's going to be a dog fight.
Just who. Yeah.
Right. Hack, we talked about this a little earlier when we went down Cincinnati's resume. Cincinnati, and we rattled off all those teams. If they showed up at their B or B- game, could they get anybody above them? I changed my mind. They could get Oklahoma with the effort and or urgency they had today against Indiana. I think they could still get Oklahoma, only really because of how Oklahoma plays, how they go about business. Yeah. Is that remotely close, or do you think I'm just talking shit?
No, I think that's a fair statement. And at the end of the day, I think it's really hard for us because we've all been there. We've been through the ebbs and flows of a season. We've all been through that struggle of finding identity. We feel that and we can empathize with that a little bit. But at the end of the day, you also have to take all that aside and sit there and be like, you are who you consistently show us you are, right?
Correct.
And Oklahoma has consistently showed us that they are not the killer family of 5 type team that everyone expected. And Spencer Rattler has not played like the Heisman frontrunner that everyone expected. And that defense hasn't played the way that it was expected to come into. So you get a leash, but once you start taking advantage of the fact that you have that leash starts getting retracted really quick. And to your point, George, they are still undefeated. Like they still do control their destiny. They haven't had a loss. Thankfully, they've been able to kind of get by the skin of their teeth a couple of weeks here. But it's just I think there's too many other good teams right now that are putting together too good of resumes to sit there and say that they are a top 5 team in the country right now. They're just not.
So this is what's interesting. I know it. I love it. So this is what's interesting, right? Because you have Alabama at a lock. Mm-hmm. And then you have 3 teams that are fighting for 3 spots because Clemson's going to be out. If they beat, probably a 2-loss North Carolina team, I don't know what the heck happens in the ACC. I don't know. And then you have the Big 12.
Can lock Georgia. I think you can lock Georgia.
That's what I'm saying. I think so
you
too.
lock Georgia and Alabama, and then
there's 2 done.
That's done. And then what though? So because you have Pac-12, ACC, Big 12, and Big 10. So now you've got. Do you
have the Big 12 though? Really?
I don't. That's what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, if you say that Oklahoma continues to just beat people by 3 points in the last second, right?
And then you have about legacy. they'll make a case about what we've done, who we've been, and then they'll point to the loss column having a 0. Forget about the style we got here regardless. A one-loss Buckeyes team or a one-loss Oregon or an undefeated Oregon, undefeated Oklahoma for that last spot, Oregon gets it.
But here's the thing. Oregon runs the table and Penn State wins the East. It's over. I don't care
it's
if you –
over.
It's over. It's over.
You think that's where it settles, Hack? Penn State runs it out. Oregon runs it out because they're on those paths right now. What about an undefeated Notre Dame team? They're going to have plenty of – Notre Dame.
And they're going to have juice.
They got Cincinnati, Wisconsin.
They got a schedule.
Virginia Tech. They have enough real opponents to step up, knock out, and grow some. But that's not the same as winning a heavyweight conference like the Big Ten with Ohio State, Michigan State left, nor the Pac-12. I think they're going to give the Pac-12 a little push because I think college football is dying to see somebody west of the Mississippi, or especially
no doubt.
Come on in there. So let's jump to this. Let's jump to this. And again,
real quick, just on that point. I mean, I'm so sick and tired of. I know that you have NBC. This is like the dude at the frat party that takes the beer pong game and says, "Hey, I'm going to go ahead and schedule this guy, and I'm going to schedule this guy." I mean, you can't do that junk anymore. And now that they're barely passing Toledo, there ain't no way. I mean, they're going to get 3 rounds in and be wishing and hoping that frat guy never schedules them on the beer pong table at 6 o'clock anymore. Like, I'm done.
Damn that frat boy. All right, so sleeper. Outside of the 5 families, which, man, it seems like a lot of feds and infiltration in the 5 families right now. A lot of discourse. And outside of Penn State, who we all love, and Florida, who will lose and hopefully go up. Yeah. Who is your sleeper, Bryce Petty? Who's your sleeper? Who's the team that's quietly going about their business that people need to at least look over their shoulder and could T-bone somebody in November?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me not to go against Cincinnati just because we're talking about who gets in. I think that there's enough of what we've just talked about for the last 25 minutes for Cincinnati to just slowly go, hey, I don't have anybody in this loss column. Big 12, you got what you're doing. Oregon, UCLA, who else? There's not really anybody in there. You talk about a 1 or a 2, I don't know, 1 loss Ohio State team versus anybody else. I don't know. I really think that Cincinnati does control their destiny in the sense that there's enough of that in there to where if they do come in and slap, Notre Dame in the mouth in South Bend, and say that South Bend goes and runs the table, right? Say that they finally get their hiccup, they slip, the chair knocks out, and Cincinnati comes in there with a win, and then they go win out. It's interesting. I think it's really interesting. I don't think an ACC team has a play. I don't think a Big 12 team has a play. So really, all we have to do is figure out, hey, who out of Pac-12 and SEC can knock each other out?
Hold on. Did you say we? Did you say we?
Oh, yes. I'm on that train. I'm on that train.
Did you just enroll in a master's program? Did you just enroll in a master's program?
Look, I already followed their Twitter. It's a we thing. It's a we thing.
Validation. Hackenberg, your sleeper. It's a we thing.
Yeah.
Man, if that thing come out in a T-shirt tomorrow, that's going to be unbelievable. Hack.
Shoot.
Who are you rolling with?
Oh, well, yeah, I think outside of everything we just touched on, like obviously, like I'm rolling with my guys up there, big win tonight. But I'm buying the whole state of Michigan right now. Like Michigan.
Where's the glass? Welcome back.
Michigan State.
Dude, I just know it's khakis and cleats. Just I can't ever. I'll toast to it and drink to it just because I'm thirsty, but I don't want to.
I hate the words coming out of my mouth. I can't support Michigan in any way, shape, or form. I'm like, bloodbound.
That speaks to the true integrity of you, Christian Hackenberg. That speaks to your integrity, sir.
Yeah, but I'm telling you right now, I mean, I think Michigan is playing the most confident football they've played under Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah.
I think when you look at Michigan State,
Hey, hold on
who
real
has
quick.
come out of nowhere.
Just before you get into this stuff, okay? I really hope that this confidence that you're talking about, Western Michigan, wow. Washington, even more wow, who loses to Montana, and then Northern Illinois. If you're sitting there talking about confidence, can we please play someone else out of Pee Wee?
Let's go.
Here's my thing, though, Bryce. They stomped them. They stomped them.
They did, and I will give you that.
And you're talking about Oklahoma, who just struggled with Tulane, and you go down the line.
I didn't say they were my sleeper. I said I'm selling.
For them boys.
Correct.
I'm selling. I'm taking my cash and I'm gone somewhere.
Yeah,
I
understand that. But to Hack's point, September is the month that heavyweights get welterweights, and heavyweights go up against flyweights, just because that's how the schedule goes. Oklahoma had 2 of the 3 opponents, and they barely got out of the ring. They're looking over there, looking at the clock. Ohio State, it looked gaudy. But that game was much closer than what it was with Tulane today, or Tulsa today. A lot of heavyweights around the country have played down, and some got knocked out. When you watch that Michigan team, no, we didn't see a bunch of top 10 teams rolling into Ann Arbor. They have knockouts. Today they won with 9 straight touchdown drives. I don't care who you're playing. Everybody on board is going in the same direction. 9 straight touchdown drives. They had their first primetime game against a preseason ranked Washington team who came in with a lot of good buzz. Knock them out. That did not go all 12 rounds. That was out, round 7, round 8 to Hack's point.
That was done. So they, to me, they have shifted from the program that is exactly what you have described Oklahoma as this year. I think that's been Michigan traditionally for the past 5 years, where they have all this hype and then they struggle and then they end up, going 9-3, whatever. They're just there. But I think now they're playing with a different confidence. And now I'm going to move on because I do want to give Michigan State some love because they came out of nowhere. Everyone had them in the basement still, especially coming off of last year. And we said this early. I said, dude, this is like prime D'Antonio with Cook and working off play action, controlling the line of scrimmage, big, tough SOBs up front. And they got guys outside that can make plays and separate. Like defensively, they have an identity. They've been doing their thing. They went down. They just beat a Miami team. Now, I'm not so sold Miami is everything that everyone thought Miami was, but they still went down there and did it, and they did that. And then also, I'll just throw this in there. Western Michigan beat a Pitt team that just came off a Tennessee win.
Hey,
we'll just give it to all the Michigan guys right now.
I love it.
I'm with you on the state of Michigan.
Something in the water up there right now.
It's something in the water. They're playing in Ann Arbor, and really, it's always good to see traditional powers get back up on their feet. The whole world was waiting on somebody from out west, and lo and behold, UCLA jumps up and is like, I got you. LSU knockout. Then they go up against who they have in week 1 that caught everybody's attention. Hawaii. Still, how do they look against Hawaii? Then they turn around and take on an LSU team. They got Stanford and Oregon coming up. UCLA football is back. They can flip the sign around on the store. We're back in business. The Hurricanes, the Michigan State win you're talking about, they went up against the Roman army. And then I don't know back in the Byzantine era who was below the Roman army. Appalachian State is a winning program. I'll never forget Mark Rick telling me before, you don't want to schedule App States and Boise States as your quote-unquote off week because they have a winning culture. They win games. They hunt elephants for a living. You want to go get the sleeping group, you want to get the sleeping group of 5. Go find the pot-bellied group of 5 team
that's looking for the cash.
That's looking for the cash, and your fan base will give them the credit. You're better off going and beating a group of 5 than going to try to fight Alabama or App State. So Miami, 2 big games, quote unquote, should have beat App State. Michigan State goes from 17-14 to then just winning by, 3 touchdowns, and they're back almost 200 yards, and they're back doing that type of ball. So I'm with you on that. My sleeper at this point, and it's been relatively quiet because the conference has been really noisy, is Texas A&M. Texas A&M, they're plugged in a new quarterback, Haynes King. Starter is now behind Kirk Cousins up there in Minnesota. But when I asked you earlier, Bryce, about what can Cincinnati pack up and go with, and Hack, we talked about it. Yeah. This is what you can count on with the Aggies. One, and first and foremost, coaching. I think they have one of the sharpest, best head coaches / coaching staffs in America. That defense,
Jimbo.
Get off the bus, they can run them down, and they can get into an alley and do what you need to do. And they never hurt themselves. They do not hurt themselves. A&M the last couple of years, twice they played the two teams that wound up in the national championship game. They played Clemson and Bama in the last couple of years. That's a battle-tested program. Even the secretaries know how to go out and do battle. Like, let's just be honest. So, but it's quiet right now. They haven't gotten back into SEC play. It's quiet. That's my sleeper. So, with that, Hack, any shout-outs, anything that you want to go over at the twilight of this deal?
Nah, man, we touched on it. I'm proud of my boys up there at Penn State getting it done. Like I said, the atmosphere was great for college football. We are back. Don't want to take that pun there. I'm just saying we're back. It feels normal. It was great seeing Lee getting into it with the fans up there, and it just felt good. It just feels a little bit normal again. So I'm just happy to see that.
And Bryce Petty, I know the whole state of Texas is fired up for beating the Jayhawks tonight. Really, we all should be. And I mean that with love.
Hey, man, we took a couple of years on the chin, and I tell you what, they gave Dave Aranda another year, and you can see it. You can see it. Good. Guys are starting to buy in. It's 45-7 up there in Lawrence. It doesn't matter. It's a road game, first Big 12. And I got to give a shout out just because of the nature of what you're talking about. We have surpassed in 3 games the entirety of the rush yards that we had in 2020 already in 2021. So here. Tristan Ebner, Abram Smith. Hey, I'm telling you. Hey, and real quick too, man. Abram Smith, linebacker last year, switched back to running back this year. I love guys like that. They have a winning culture and it's starting to get there. So we both know it as we are in Sikkim. It takes a while to get back, but when you do, man, it's fun to watch.
Yes,
I love that. So join us next week right after the primetime game. I'm not even sure who the primetime.
It could be that that's in 2 weeks. I don't know.
I don't know. Primetime.
Bite your tongue.
The primetime game. Join us next week.
Don't be late to class on Monday.
Don't be late. Grab something to sip. Grab something to sip. Bring your questions and get your buddies on here. We're rolling with you. Ladies, we're rolling with you, as Bryce pointed that out week 1. For Christian Hackenberg, Bryce Petty, this is George Whitfield. After 12, college football show. See you next week.
Love it.